everyone will be joining as well. What's going on there? It's live. No need to get me in there. No pressure.
It's live.
Okay, so the topic for tonight's panel is the community building panel, which I think is a very significant panel for us in Yeshiva here. I think oftentimes when people come up through Yeshiva, so you kind of see that there's like two paths. There's like the path of like you're choosing to do if you choose to do smicha, so then you're going to be involved in Jewish involvement and leadership and community and all these kind of things, or you'll choose to be a Babai, which is not that, and you'll make your money and Shalom Yisrael. I think the point of tonight's panel is really to show that it's not, regardless of the path you're choosing, there's very significant things for you to be involved in helping build communities and being involved in communities. And so the goal of tonight really, we brought three panelists, two of whom are Balabatim and one hopefully who's a Rav of a community, to kind of give both sides of the coin, as it were. And really for all of us, really to appreciate, the many things that we can and should be involved in the years to come. So I'll introduce the panelists, and then we'll have the opening question. So first, to my right, we have Marc Lesnick. I got this stuff from the internet, so hopefully it's correct.
Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Well, yeah, exactly. If it's fake,
if it's
fake
good,
news, I apologize
don't
in
believe it.
advance.
If it's good, you can believe it.
Okay, so Marc is a partner. Well, first of all, currently lives in Beit Shemesh. Is a partner at Fortissimo Capital Management. Beforehand was a managing director at Jerusalem Global, where he led a team that raised $250 million for 35 companies. In addition, Rav Cutler says that he's been a real inspiration in the leadership program this year, and that also he'll be presenting at Business Ethics Yom Iyun this year as well, which we'll have the opportunity to hear from him. To his left, to his right is Eli Hochhauser, who maybe you guys might pick up on, who he might be related to in Yeshiva. Eli lives in Ariel, has been very engaged in the community there, is a shul gabbai for over 5 years, is on the Vag there for over 7 years, runs various community learning, parent-child learning programs, different kinds of things. Also, similar to somebody you might know, is also enjoys playing basketball, also runs basketball leagues for kids as well, and has also been a mentor for youth in Tel Aviv. So has been involved in various different ways. Okay, so for our opening question, what drew you to Comino leadership, and why would you recommend that others pursue it? So you could decide who wants to go first here.
You can go too.
I don't know. First of all, I guess you said I'm going to be on the business ethics panel, so I hope this is not a mekach ta'ut. I have to come clean. I'm not a communal leader. I don't know what that means exactly. I consider myself more an activist. We moved to Beit Shemesh like a couple of years ago, like 21 already. How old are you guys? Right before you were born. My God, it makes you feel old when you get these guys. But I think that you talk about a community leader. A community leader to me is, I don't know, the mayor, the president of the shul, or something like that. But I think each one of us has the ability to be a community leader when it comes to specific projects. And like what I said is, by the way, I don't like the term Baal Bayit. I feel like it's, I don't know, kind of derogatory. Like, what do you do? Yeah, you just own a house. It's like, that's what I feel like, you'd be someone who's an activist in the community. So I think each of us has their own skills and what they can contribute. And for example, we moved to Beit Shemesh. It was a brand new community. There was no shul even. We davened in the basement, in the miklat, actually, of a building. And we had to raise money to build a shul. And when we got there, it's easy to say, oh my God, there's nothing here, it's terrible. And you can be that old man in the back of the shul that complains about everything. The rabbi's speaking too long, the air conditioning's not working, there's no programs, there's no this, there's no that. Or you can do something about it. So when we came, right away, again, I'm not trying to toot my horn, I'm just trying to show you what it means to be an activist. So I came to Beit Shemesh, and I said, you know what, I have kids, there's no youth minyan. When I grew up, I don't know where you grew up.
Edison, New Jersey.
Do you have that youth minyan?
No, now they do.
Back then, when I grew up, from second grade on, we had a youth meeting where the kids would daven in the morning. Every Shabbos, we'd lane. When I was in second grade, I learned how to lane. We'd be chazer and stuff like that. And I said, there's nothing here. I have a kid who's in second grade. I started a youth meeting. It went on for years, and then someone else took it over. Then my kids got older. I said, there's no teen meeting. Started a teen meeting, started shiurim. There were a number of different things where you can either come and complain about what's lacking in the community. or you could, it's kind of tell it. I'm trying to tell a story, and now I forget it about it. So you either complain about something, or you do something about it. And that's why I don't consider myself a leader at all. I just consider myself an activist. I see you look for an issue, you look for a problem, and you say, you know what can I do to help make things better, to help contribute to the community, and just make it a better place.
I think the message that Marc is giving is very similar to kind of how I feel. The route that I got there is a little bit different. I come from a family that I think I was very active. My parents, my grandparents were all active, and I grew up kind of, I don't know how different than many of you, but I was kind of determined that I wasn't going to be active. And in high school, I was like, that's not what I'm going to do. I don't, I just want to let me go to work, let me come home, let me have my peace and quiet, and I'll just, get on with my day. At some point, I guess part of it has to do with maturity. Part of it has to do with kind of just understanding the way things work, and kind of just feeling that it was just hard to sit by and to see things that I felt like maybe that I have something to give, and that I wasn't going to give that back to the community. I lived in Beit Shemesh. That's why I know Marc. I lived in Beit Shemesh. I met Aliyah 14 years ago. Lived in Beit Shemesh for about 5 years. I would say I wasn't really involved when I lived in Elizabeth, New Jersey before that. So I was kind of getting involved, after I got married, before I met Aliyah. And then I kind of had a couple of years, I guess, where I didn't really feel like there was something that was lacking. And so in that sense, I can't say that I'm the best communal leader, because when there was a place that there wasn't a need, I didn't feel like I had to go out of my way and, put myself there and then to do that. That's not to say that you shouldn't. I think that, over time, I've come to realize that, we all have a skill. I look at it as a superpower, right? Everybody has something inside them that you're really good at, that you can do. You just have to figure a way to channel that. And there's certain things that I found that over time that, I am good at, right? That I can do. And I don't think it's, as much as I sit here next to Marc and, I don't think I'm on his level. If Rimon was here, I would certainly say that about him. But I think everybody does have something, and the trick is finding what that is. So when we moved out of Beit Shemesh, we moved to Ariel, and it was a much smaller, growing community. The majority of the city is not religious, and there was a growing area, and there was nobody that was running certain programs that I felt like it can't be. Rabbi Johnny Kirsch runs the Horim V'Yeladim program, and where every afternoon, parents come and learn with their kids, and it didn't have that. And I was like, how could you have a place, right, where I know people, I know fathers that want, mothers that want to learn with their kids, and there isn't something like that. And people kind of did it, half baked, we'll call it, right? They didn't actually go all the way. They didn't do the right thing. And I felt like, if we make this organized, if we kind of promote it, if I make, kind of take it up a level, I can really make a difference, and I can get more people involved. And it's just a small example of something where I felt like, if I'm good at organizing, and I'm good at kind of promoting, and I'm good at, I have no problem just kind of getting in front of people. Sometimes people just need that push. Well, and that's something that I could do that was different. And that's kind of how I started getting involved. So from there, it came from nothing that was bad and it wasn't lacking, but I just felt like it could be done better, right? And there's always, I guess, it's looking for that opportunity where you can make the difference. You might not always realize it, and you just kind of have to always keep your eyes open and look for what you can do. And if something exists, right, that you coming in and offering your help doesn't mean that the way they did it was bad or that there's something wrong, but there's definitely something that you can give, and everybody for sure has something that you can add on and you can give, and to make whatever's there better, right? Even if it's something that you're starting with, but I feel like that's kind of the route that I took, looking what I can do to help, and kind of picking back on other people's coattails and trying to take it up a notch.
Great, thank you. Could each of you, just to get started, maybe share a meaningful moment that you had, in your time as being an activist, leader, whatever you want to call it, in your communities, or something that maybe stands out?
It's hard to think of one. I mean, the truth is, even last week's parsha, you have Venat Nu, which is, I think it's called what's it called? Palindrome? Palindrome thing. That's why I bring all of that. It's where the word, you can read.
My brother taught me everything I know I got from Carl.
You can read it from right to left or from left to right, right? Venat Nu, it doesn't matter which way you read it, right to left, it's the same word. In other words, when you give, you will actually get back as well. And what I found is that when you get involved with Chesed, when you're able to start a program, you see the impact you have on other people, it's an amazing feeling. And that really is what gives you, sipuk, nafshi. It gives you, certain meaning to life and satisfaction. I mean, again, I was involved in a number of programs. My wife was more my wife than not me, but I kind of helped her out. She started at the program for Yom HaShoah in the neighborhood. There was nothing there, and it's been 20 years now, like 700-800 people that come every year, and people come over afterwards and say, "Wow, that was so meaningful, so touching." A couple of years ago, I think you might have been there. Rabbi I started. We had the Birchat HaChama, which happens once every 28 years, and I remember we said, "Wow, this is a big thing. It's once every 28 years. We got to make this really meaningful." Some people maybe you're lucky you make the bracha 3, maybe 4 times in your life. And so we had everybody wake up like at sunrise, went to a place where we saw the sunrise, and they had a whole program, and it was really meaningful. And I didn't even realize what impact it had on people. Like later on, some older people came to me and said, this is probably the last time I'm going to make this bracha. And it was like pretty sad, but they were like so happy that it was meaningful for them. Or sometimes I give shiurim in the neighborhood, and when I hear somebody repeat what I said, or they tell me how it was meaningful to them, it just makes a big difference. And for me also, I think what's most meaningful is when I see my kids doing what my wife and I do, and they get involved and they do chesed projects and so on, and that it shows that you sort of set the example, that they see it and it's something that they assume is done. The other day, last week actually, I give a shiur every Shabbos. Guys in the neighborhood came to me who were going into the army. And they said, "Look, you've given pulot in Bnei Akiva. We like your shiurim. Could you give us a shiur once a week?" This was 6 years ago, before they went into the army. I said, "Fine." It's going on for 6 years. The guys already out of the army. They already got some are married. One has a kid. So 2 weeks ago, one of the boys got married. He asked me to speak under the chuppah. So I spoke under the chuppah, and my wife took a little picture and she sent it to our WhatsApp group, our family WhatsApp group. The next day, my daughter says to me, "Abba, it's so weird. When I got the WhatsApp, I was with a bunch of my friends from university, and I was looking at it, and I was like, hey, what's that? That's my father. He's under the chuppah, giving it to our Torah." They're like, "Holy cow, that's crazy. Like, who is he? Some big rabbi?" He goes, "No, it's just my dad." And she said after, she's like, "You know what? For people, that's like a big thing. It's wow, I can't." She's like, "That's what we brought up. That's like a normal thing. It's like that's what we do. It's like wherever you can, you just contribute." And my daughter's in university, and she was like, she volunteered for Elisa Bloch, who's running for mayor of Beit Shemesh. She was like her, right hand man. She's the president of her university, running around. And just when kids see what the parents do, then they realize this is what's done, and it's not a big deal. And so for me, what's most meaningful is when you see what you do has an impact on the people that you're dealing with, and on people around you who see it and say, "Wow, you know what? That's a good thing to do." Actually, when I went to Gush, and when I was in Gush, we had one of these press conferences, where you can ask Rav Lichtenstein, without any question. So one of my friends said to him, "How do you know?" Because you're learning like you guys in yeshiva for the year, and he said, "How do you know when I'm working on my midot? How do I know when I become a better person?" And that's a kind of tough question. Like, what do you expect me to say? And Rav Lichtenstein, with that beat, said, when you start to see other people doing good things and you recognize that. So you're eating, and you think that he gave the example, you're eating at someone's house for Shabbos lunch, and you see another guy get up and clear the table, and you're like, "Wow, I should really be doing that." That's when you realize that you're improving, because you see little things that people do, and you say, "Wow, that little thing is a big thing, a big act." And so I would say when you do little things and other people recognize them, and it has an impact on them, I think to me that's a meaningful. It makes it all worth the while.
Good answer.
All right, this is long, but
the two main functions, I guess, two main jobs I have, responsibilities I have in my community are I'm the Gabbai of a shul. It's about 100 family shul in Ariel. I don't know if any of you guys know where that is. You should, if you don't, hopefully. Go look at it afterwards. If you don't know where it is.
Invitation Shabbos, if you ever want.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Come to Summit Gorizon, and there's a bus.
That's right. It goes through Route 60, one of the oldest highways in the world. Basically, Ariel's in the Shomron. So, like I said, it's about a 20,000 person city, but most of the communities, the city itself is not religious. And so the shul's in the middle of the city itself, and there's a whole, you have the regular shul goers, and then you have the people who come, for whether it's a Shabbat Chatan or it's a Bar Mitzvah, they'll come and they'll join, and then they'll call me up and they say, "Listen, my son's making a Bar Mitzvah and we want him to come to the shul." And my job is to kind of coach them through the process. Find a lot of times they have somebody who's helping them to lane, but they need somebody else who kind of take their hand. And for me, one of the most important things is I like that this is probably this kid's or the parents, right? Their only experience that they're going to have in shul after their post brit milah. Maybe when they get married, they'll come also if we're lucky. And for me, the kind of seeing the experience and giving them the positive experience and escorting them through the whole cycle of coming to shul, making sure that they have a feel comfortable place to sit. And even if they know Hebrew, so like in America, a lot of times you're going to have the dynamic of they have no clue, they don't even know how to read the siddur, they can't do that. So here, the people like at least they have a little bit of a jump on that in that aspect, but they don't really know what to do, making them comfortable. And so when I do that whole process and the kid gets an aliyah and he gets it there and everybody's happy and I kind of escort them through the whole thing, and then afterwards the parents come up to me or the mother comes up to me in the city, we're at the bakery on Friday morning, and she says, "Listen, she's like, I just want to know, it was like a phenomenal experience. My son loved it. You made us feel at home." For me, that was a huge win, right? For me, because that's how I look at my job, right? You're not just leading the people who you normally would think that are there to lead, right? Your regular congregants. You're there also to lead the people who you normally wouldn't have pegged as somebody who's coming in and needing some sort of guidance. The other thing that I love, all the involvement that I have with kids in terms of running like learning programs throughout the year on every Shabbat or on Hanukkah in the summer, seeing kids and parents kind of learning together and doing things that a lot of times people are so busy they don't always have the time to do it, and sometimes they just need some sort of framework and need some sort of guidelines and say, listen, all right guys, there's a program. And so people know when there's a program, there's something there and it's structured, they feel much more motivated and they're going to do it. Whereas if you just sort of take a poll of the average person, if they didn't have the sort of structure, they probably wouldn't do it themselves. And so one of the things that I try and do is try and give them that structure so they feel more comfortable. They feel this sort of pull and place that they can go to do that. And so when I see and I run an event and there's 30 to 40 people and they come over to me after and said, listen, Ellie, thank you. Listen, I want to learn with my kids, but I don't always find the time. And that they want to, but they need that sort of kind of extra push. And I kind of help them do that. That's really motivating and inspirational.
Beautiful. I can just say one note to the previous thing, because I'm looking around, I'm saying, I guess this is all about leadership program. And, some of you might be sitting there saying, I don't have the personality. I'm not a leader. Is like, wow, who knows? I can't get up and speak. I'm not a leader. But, it's interesting. Even in the Torah, we're referred to as Mamlechet Kohanim, right? The Goy Kadosh. What does that mean, Mamlechet Kohanim? We're not all Kohanim. How many Kohanim are in the audience? Right? Okay, we got a few, but not everybody. Okay, so why are we all referred to as Malachet Kohanim? Because each individual has within him that Kohen aspect. It's because that's the leadership. It's every morning we wash our hands, right? Because we're going to do our avodat Hashem, and the Kohen was the mechanech, and the Kohen is the one who everything you do, you have to internalize it. So again, you don't have to be the number one in the community doing everything, but the idea is, as we mentioned earlier, is like what are your skills? What kochot do you have, and what can you do to contribute? Rav Kook has a famous statement, Elokaya ad shelo notzarti ani kedai, right? In other words, why was I born, I was born now, not 50 years ago. Actually, 100 years ago. I gotta change that. Okay. So why was I born now and not 100 years ago? Because there's a reason why I'm here. I have a certain shlichut, a certain tafkid, and you have to ask yourself, what is it that I need to do today? What can I do to help pass on the Masorah to make this world a better place? And each of us has that within us, and you have to just figure out what it is that you could do. And it's easy just to coast and say, that's not me. Let other people do it. Someone will take care of it. It's important to take that makom she'ein hanashim nishtadel liot ish. That's where it is to just say, I'm gonna do what I can do, and you'll see how much you can get done. It's an important thing, no matter where you are.
So along those lines, I think the challenge that everyone's going to have is obviously identifying, what you can do, but I think it's also not being afraid. I don't know, you guys have a lot of different sessions in terms of how to get up in public speaking and trying not to get over that, we'll call it stage fright or that initial kind of reluctance to put yourself out there. I think everybody has it, right? At this point in my life, I don't, for the most part, have that stage fright in terms of getting up in front of the community, or I won't say not suggesting, offering my services to whatever event is going on. But at some point you have that, right? And everybody has it. And so, for example, I live in a community that's pretty much the 90%. They're not English speaking, right? It's Hebrew speaking. I live in a Hebrew speaking community. And I was in Israel for 5 years before I moved over there. So my Hebrew wasn't bad, but I guess you would say, listen, it was very easy for me to make excuses for to say, listen, you know what? I come from a different culture. I grew up in a different type of community in America. That's not what I'm used to. I'm not going to understand what people want, right? There's always something that you can find as an excuse for why not to do it. And I think the challenge is, right, to say, listen, there's something that I have to offer. I'll find it what it is, even if you don't know what it is right away. And again, there were things that were being done. I just kind of said, listen, all right, how about you do that, right? You can't be, you need to be motivated, right, for yourself, but you also can't be, don't be daunted by the task right? Of being able to offer what you have, because everybody has something, and you just need to do it. Don't. There's always that excuse. There's always that voice in your head. So listen, somebody's doing it already. I don't have exactly what they're looking for. Whatever it is, you grow with it, right? Maybe if the first day you don't have it, but you'll get it, right? The point is you just got to get out there and you have to do it, and you'll find it. You'll find what that is. I'm gonna leave all the religious quotes to Marc. There's a very famous book that came out a couple years ago by a professor in Stanford. It's called Mindset. I don't know if my brother ever exposed anybody here to it. But she talks about the two different types of mindset. There's a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, right? You guys ever hear of this?
Yeah.
Okay. So the growth mindset basically says there's a different type. There's a tfisa, there's the perspective somebody has where they feel like whatever kochot you were born with, right? That's what you have, right? And you can't pretty much. You can try and maximize whatever it is. You're a phenomenal memory. That's what it is. You have your memory, and that's it. And it's probably, you hit your barrier. As soon as you hit that max, you can't go anymore. But she says that, the cliche is that your brain is a muscle, right? But the point is that it's a perspective that you have to have, right? If you have to come with a perspective and say you do something and you keep doing it and you work at it, you can grow with it, and you can be pretty much whatever skill you don't have. You can develop those skills and you can do it, right? And so, but you have to get out there. You have to start it. You can't be afraid. You can't be looking and say, listen, I'm not there yet. You can definitely be there, right? You have to go with that. The fixed mindset is something where you kind of feel like I don't have anything else to offer. I kind of maxed out my potential. I'm not that type of person. I don't have that skill. And the worst thing that you can do, right, is that you can feel like that you've hit that barrier, you've hit that max, and you don't have something else to offer. And you really, the issue is just going out there, doing it, and you'll improve over time. You'll get better, right? But you got to get out there. You got to do it. You got to get active.
By the way, we're taking over. I don't mean take a job.
Making my job easy.
No, but it's just there's so many important messages here, and the fact is, not only should you go out and do it, but you're going to make mistakes, and that's fine. And even if you don't make mistakes, someone's going to think that you did, okay? Because someone's always going to be able, to complain. Just to get back to the Yom HaShoah program, for example, I remember we got my wife is in charge, not me, but she got an amazing speaker. We have survivors speaking, and there aren't that many survivors left. So they had a survivor who was amazing. And afterwards, a bunch of people from Beit Shemesh, we're the 90% who speak English, said, it was great, but we don't understand a word. Why are you having a Hebrew speaker? We should have an English speaker. And then the following year, they got an English speaker. And then, of course, the people complaining, we're in Israel. I don't know why you have to have an English speaker. We should have it, So no matter what you do and how much you put into it and how good a program that you do is, there's always going to be someone complaining. In fact, at the end of the Megillah, what's one of the last psukim? Mordechai Yehudi, you know what the next word is? Ratsui l'rov echav. What does that mean, Ratsui l'rov echav? To most. Mordechai, he saved the Jews. He saved everybody. If it wasn't for him, who knows what would have happened? You'd think everybody would like him. There's always one guy saying, yeah, you see Mordechai? You see, like, yeah, what's he doing up there? Look at that guy. Ratsui l'rov echav. If even some people are going to complain about Mordechai, then whatever you do is okay. In other words, don't worry. You can take criticism, and if someone complains about anything that you do, it doesn't matter. Realize if you feel good about it, if you feel you gave it your all, you did a good job, and continue doing what you're doing.
Well, on a certain level, they say if you make everybody happy, then you're doing something wrong, right? Because any sort of negotiation, anything like that, if
Too much.
Sorry, you're not going to make everybody happy. It means also maybe potentially you're not pushing yourself, you're not pushing them, you're not pushing the boundaries of making that program or making that community grow to what it is, right? You can't stay complacent, right? You gotta the mashal is right. It's like the word is kevesh, but everybody here calls it rampa, right? Life is like a ramp, right? If you're not going up, you're going down, right? You have to be pushing yourself. You have to be pushing everything, right? So sometimes you're gonna get, you're gonna step on people's toes. You're gonna get not everybody's gonna like leaving their comfort zone. You yourself are not gonna like leaving your comfort zone, but you have to get out there. You have to push it. You have to get out there, and you're not. You need thick skin. It's not fun to say it, and it shouldn't discourage you. We're saying it just as terms of guys. It's part of the course. It's nothing that you should be, turn away from because of that. It's just you should feel the comfort of. That doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing it because everybody's going to experience it at some point in their life.
Awesome, thank you. So again, very interesting things that they've been involved in, and also some thoughts. I do want to highlight a couple of things about the stuff you were involved in, which I think is important just to point out and to appreciate. Number one, I think we saw, just the ability that they had to really impact other people. You know what I'm saying? It's like whether it was the bar mitzvah boy, the people come to Yom HaShoah event, the Birkat Chama, meaning the ability still to impact those around you. Those opportunities clearly exist. Another thing I would highlight also, I think even just as they were speaking about it, you see, how excited they get about sharing these things. And, it clearly just adds tremendous meaning to their own lives and gives them tremendous energy to be involved in these things. And I think those are two, I think both those things are things which we very much appreciate. And to think, that those opportunities, as they said, as long as you're willing to get involved, that those opportunities, very much exist, moving forward. Okay, for the next question, we don't have a rabbi here, but so maybe you could speak more freely then. But I'd like to ask, when looking for a rabbi in a community, what are some of the key traits or things, that you think are important for in looking for the rabbi of the community?
I've never been part of a community that actually had to do a rabbinical search. You were probably involved in.
I was actually.
Right.
So I was actually on a committee for the search of a Rav. A Rav passed away from cancer, and we had to hire a new Rav. So I was on a committee that actually interviewed a number of Rabbanim, and talking about keeping all the people happy. We had a list of people, and when that guy, we heard. I'm leaving the shul if you're going to pick that guy. It's like everybody had something to say about somebody. It's like crazy, So we did a process where we made sure that we selected the top 3, and then have them come for Shabbos, so everybody voted on it, so that we knew it was a majority decision, not the committee that decided. We just we sort of screened people and brought who we thought would be most suited. But if you ask me, I think the role of a Rav. I don't know, there are probably 4 or 5, I think, important aspects that you need to look at. I think a Rav, number one, needs to be inspirational. A lot of people come to shul on Shabbos, they want to hear the Rav speak, and it needs to be something that can be inspiring. But you have to be careful because, people don't want to hear Mussar, especially the Rav might be, half someone's age in the shul. And you got to be careful that you get a message across that can be inspirational and help people sort of, raise up themselves spiritually without being spoken down to. I once had a discussion with Rav Asher Weiss. My office, I manage a fund, and I'm the only from guy. My other partners are amazing people, Sarah Marcal, fighter pilots, Harvard MBAs, but they're not yet religious. All right, hope they don't see this video. and I said, I said to Rav Weiss, look, we always have a l'chaim for like Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah, Pesach, and I want to inspire these guys. They're amazing guys, and I learn with that. I'm with a few of them, once a week. But so he said to me, Winston Churchill once said. I'll give you a quote. And I said, Rav Weiss, I've heard your quote every Rishon and Achron, but I've never heard that guy. Who's that? He goes, Winston Churchill once said, I love learning, but I hate being taught. I said, you know what that means? I said, yeah. He's like, let me explain. You don't know that. All right. So he said, well, so what does it mean? I love learning, but I hate being taught. He said, if you give Mussar, if you speak down to somebody, they turn off. So you have to give the message in a nice, soft way so they feel like they're learning something, but you're not trying to teach them something. And so the Rav has to give an inspirational speech where he's giving a message, but it's not speaking down to people. So that's important. I think the Rav needs to be someone who you look up to also. If you're in a situation like, well, what would the Rav do now? Because it's somebody who is sort of your moral and ethical barometer of that's the right thing to do. Someone who you could admire, who you respect, who's a Dubai Shi. Set an example for you and your family. Someone who's approachable. Also, the summer Rabbanim, wow, the Talmid Chacham, you fear going up to them. It should be something that you feel comfortable that if you have a problem, if you have a question, maybe an issue with the children, you want to be able to speak to the Rav. You want your child to be able to speak to the Rav. The Rav who not only is approachable, but who goes out and tries to do things with the community, helps unite the community and not cause conflict. Some Rabbanim might come in and say, no, Mechitza is not big enough, this is not good enough, and create problems in the shul, but rather a Rav that comes and says, okay, there are different dayot here. How do we, within a halachic framework, try to, live in peace, together and, compromise where we can within a halachic framework. So it should be someone who can create the community and not divide the community. And, somebody who, I think I covered it. Yeah. Anything else?
I've never, like I said, I started saying I've never been in this situation where we're actually looking to hire a Rav. But I think you can the Ravs, the communities that I was in, I found that the most successful is really the ones that are able to make a personal connection with the community itself. I think obviously, like you said, they have to be knowledgeable and they have to know. I don't think necessarily to be the greatest Talmid Chacham, right? But I think they have to know what they're good at, know what they know, and know what they don't know, and being able to connect to the community. I think that's the biggest piece. And so I've been very fortunate in Beit Shemesh. Rabbi David Schroeder certainly understands, if anybody who knows, he's a tremendous Talmid Chacham, right? But I think people overlook sometimes his ability to connect and how much he cares for the other person. The Rav of Mashal in Ariel also. I didn't necessarily notice it at first, but the amount of effort and energy that he expends towards caring for everybody, not just the people that he sees on a daily basis, but somebody could come from out of the blue, no connection to the shul, and we'll come over to him and hear, oh, I heard you're the rabbi in this neighborhood, in the shkuna, and they want help. And so for me, it's important to have a rab that cares about that's willing to just kind of drop everything and help the people. And I think there's no real replacement for that personal side of the rabbinate.
At the same time, there's at the end of first Mishnah Perkei, it says Vasusiag Torah, and the Meiri I think says over there that what does it mean Vasusiag Torah? So the pashut is to make a fence around the Torah, right? The father said to make a safer Torah, right? But not just to draw boundaries and to make zerot, but the Meiri says something very interesting. He says, what does it mean about Vasusiag Torah? He said you have to know your audience. Don't speak too long. Don't speak above them. Don't speak beneath them. Vasusiag Torah. Make sure that you adapt your message to the kahal. And I think that's also very important. When we actually hired the Rav of Ashur, Rav Lichtenstein, who's amazing, Rav Lichtenstein. I remember beforehand I went to him. I said, listen, I know you get to share once a week. It's unbelievable to you, and you keep Baruch Chaim and everything. It's unbelievable. Shir, you feel like you're sitting in a shir koli in a Hesder yeshiva. I said, but when you get up on Shabbos, you got to be careful. You got to make sure you say, Marc, please don't worry. I know my audience, and and it's fine, and it's been amazing. But that's the idea: is that you have to know who you're speaking to, and Torah. Make sure that you're. And again, you have to go down a level. You want to bring them up to your level, but the message has to be appropriate to the audience.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question. Afterwards, we'll open up also to the audience if there's questions that people here want to ask. So if people want to start thinking, you start thinking already. So both of you really started in the United States and then came over here. So do you think that there's significant differences as far as community involvement goes between Chutz La'aretz and in Israel? And did it, did making Aliyah limit your communal involvement in any way at all? And I guess you both chose kind of different kinds of communities. I would say it sounds like one's a more American, one more Israeli. So maybe speak, towards that as well.
I think that there's a stark difference between American communities and Israeli communities. The fact that in America, the shul is also the community center. That's where everything happens. That's where Sunday you got the baseball leagues and the basketball games and
The bingo.
The bingo. Okay, for everybody they have something. It becomes a community center because that's what's needed. In Israel, it's less so. There are a lot of shuls that don't even have a rav. Someone gets up and gives a Devar Torah. They don't have youth programs because you have Bnei Akiva, Ariel, and so on. So it's like the shul is just a place you go to daven and that's it. In fact, most shuls don't even have more than that the main sanctuary. Where in America, you'll have a gym as part of the shul. You'll have a catering hall. You'd have everything. It just shows you because that's viewed as the community center. And especially moving to a community which was, I would say, very Anglo. We wanted to say, hey, we want to create that atmosphere here, and we really tried to create that. So if you ask me, moving to Israel, I ended up getting more involved than I was in America, also because I was in a very established community. I made Aliyah from Teaneck, New Jersey, where it's shuls that existed for years, and you have people. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, you have I grew up in Flatbush, so those communities are communities that have been around for years, and they're very established, and it's easy not to have to even do anything because things could kind of run on their own, and they have people they even pay to run youth programs, and and the shuls are like a factory. My parents live in Woodmere. The youngest of Woodmere probably has 10 people on their payroll. So there's so it's easy just to not have to get as involved. When we moved to Israel, I said there was nothing here. We didn't even have a building. So you had to create everything and create the programs, the Shalach Manas list and the Purim parties and the Oneg Shabbos and maybe a youth program for kids who are too young to go to Bnei Akiva and create programs on Yom Yerushalayim. It's like nothing was happening. How could you do that? It's like we're in Israel. Let's make a trip to Yerushalayim and there are so many things that like I said, just weren't here. And rather than complaining and saying, "Do you believe it? Nothing's happening." So then the following year, we just created a program, and something meaningful. So I think that Israel is moving more in that direction. Even Israeli communities now are seeing that. Wow, it's nice to have a rav in the shul because then they can be part of the smachot, and you have someone who's there to help guide you. Your kids when they're getting married, when they're having a bar mitzvah, to help you through avelut and so on. So I think it is more of a movement to have that the shul is sort of maybe evolving more into a community center. in Israel. I'd be interested to hear what's happening in Ariel, because that's more of an Israeli.
That's a great segue. That's a great segue.
Which yeshiva are you from?
I'm not in yeshiva, unfortunately, right
I know,
now.
where do you live?
Beit Midrash Torah, BMT. I love Hashem. It was
So did my brother.
many years ago, a couple of years ago. So I've been out of yeshiva for a long time, but the yeshiva doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. Sure.
Now the Horowitz.
All right, so I was after Rabbi Horowitz was the Rosh Yeshiva. He was Rosh Yeshiva before Rabbi Yitzchak Mirsky, who wrote Hegin Halacha, was the Rosh Yeshiva when I was there in BMT. It was a phenomenal yeshiva. Unfortunately, it didn't last. But there's plenty of Rebbeim, plenty of wonderful alumni that came out.
So what's Ariel like?
So Ariel's basically, I would say it's definitely what you see a huge generational gap in the community, in the shul goers. The people that are probably 50, 55 plus are much more used to the example that Marc gave in terms of what was considered the stereotypical Israeli shul, where it's you go in, you daven, and you come home. And that's really what most people wanted. They were more than happy to do the communal bar mitzvahs for somebody who's not religious and wanted to come in and have a positive experience. They were happy to do that. But in terms of sort of activities or sort of we'll call it a community outside the confines of the Daled Amot of the sanctuary, that wasn't what they were looking for, and a lot of them, they're happy if it stays that way. Definitely the younger generation is a much bigger push. Younger generation is pretty much anybody, called 45 and below. There's a much bigger push and realization that there's a lot that they can do as a group, right? There's a lot they can offer, whether it's, not everything has to be necessarily revolved around, a Torah learning program. Right? You can have you can improve the community parks. You can have what's called a Gan Kilati, where they say they want to come out on once a month every Tuesday and want to go to a certain part of the park in the city. That's not being worked on, and they say they want to take it upon themselves, and they're going to make it nicer for everybody, especially in a part of the city that's a little bit more run down, called lower socioeconomic area. So there's definitely a big push in Israeli communities. At least that's what we're seeing. It's not just my shul in Ariel, but some of the other ones. We have a strong younger clientele. They definitely want to get involved. They want to do many more activities.
אני מצטער על האיחור, הגעתי מעצמונה משיעורים שם, וזה 2.5 רק הנסיעה לכאן. בסדר.
I'll finish my sentence now. I don't want
it's okay.
Yeah, opportunity. So it didn't necessarily preclude me getting involved, and obviously because I'm in Israel, because I am getting involved. But I think there is a little bit of a shift. I'm trying to remember the original question. I got off topic a little bit. There's a lot. The Israeli communities are moving towards understanding that there's a need for this sort of there's group activities, stuff that can be done together, and it's definitely moving in that direction. That's something that I feel like I can help with, whether it's because I grew up in a place where they had a lot of youth activities. It's just also a little bit of mentality, and they're definitely looking for it. But I think there's definitely the gap between what's wanted, needed, expected in the average Israeli community versus America. The average American community is narrowing.
Thank you. Welcome to Rav Rimon, and thank you for joining us. Just to quickly introduce, so Rav Rimon is the Rosh Beit Midrash Machon Lev, and also Rav of Shul and Alon Shvut. In addition, he's the senior rabbinical advisor to the leadership program. He's authored many sefarim that probably many people here are familiar with. We heard a little bit from our communal activists a little bit. You say I learned quickly. So if the Rav could share with us a little bit, just from his perspective, what's like an ideal communal activist or balabait in the community? Where have you seen the Kehillah kind of taking leadership and different members of the community?
Okay. Now I understand in which question you are. Shalom. לכולם. First of all, I have to say that I think is one question: who is the ideal balabait? But although we can try answering it, every rabbi should feel that every member of his community is, let's say, ideal, also if it's not the best picture that we would draw. And I think that one of the missions of the rabbi is to find in each person in his community the point that he can be the best thing for the community. And sometimes, although I'm going to speak about it, but sometimes it's dangerous to say, look, this is the ideal, because then say, okay, how many we have like this? I'm going to draw how many we have like this. We have a few. You say, okay, all the other Balebatim are not what the Rav expected. So I think, yes, we have an idea. We know what is Balebat we would like. But we know that everyone can give a very important point to the community, can bring a special point that his friend cannot bring. So of course, if I'm speaking about the ideal of Balebat, I speak about someone that from one hand is working and keeping his family in the right way. From the other hand, someone that Torah is the center of his life. When I say Torah is the center of his life, when you open Rambam, so Rambam says, okay, 3 hours work, 6 hours learn Torah. Also, if we do it the opposite, it's still, wow. Someone would say, I learn 3 hours a day. And when I speak about Balebat, that Torah is the center of his life, it's not just the time that he learns. Of course, if it's a center, I will give a respectable time for it. But it's not the time. It can be an hour, it can be half an hour. What is the main thing in his life? If Torah is the main thing in his life, if Torah is the things that, I can say, addresses him, that tells him what to do, halacha, Torah, when he's learning maybe half an hour a day, but he's waiting for this half hour of learning, it's important for him. He feels that this gives him the special energy of the day. He knows that his decisions in life will be the decisions of Torah. So this is first of all the Balebat that is Ben Torah, but he's working and can do a lot of things, but his main point in his life is Torah. And I hope that someone like this, the Torah is the main point in his life. If someone is connected to Torah, if someone loves Hashem, he loves everyone that Hashem loves. And I would see him in the community. I would see him searching for chesed in the community. I would see him coming and saying, okay, Rabbi, this is a mission that someone needs to do. I'm ready to do. I'm ready to be a soldier. A lot of people come to me. Every week I have a few of them that they come and have suggestions. We should do this in the community, this everyone has. What do? Once when I was a young rabbi, I didn't know what to do, said, okay, we'll think about it, and after 2 weeks they came again. Okay, Arav did something, progress. Today I have another system.
You do it.
You do it. Wonderful idea, you do it. 95% don't come back anymore. You do it. It's a brilliant thing, you are the man. You'll do it. I give it to, I'll be with you. He'll do this, he'll do this. And to see someone that he is ready to do. Also things that maybe other people suggest or the rabbi suggests, or things that he himself suggested that he thinks it's important, but he's ready to do them. And for me, Valevat, an ideal Valevat is Valevat that is Ben Torah. The Torah is the center of his life, and that is ready to do things and to help the community. And the last thing, it can be lots of things, but the last thing here, that is ready to do and ready to help, but is happy in what other people are doing. Sometimes those people that are ready to do, they're also troublemakers. All the time, if this is not good, this is not good, this, okay, if you think everything not good, it's better that you won't do anything and see the good things in people, be happy with what this is doing and he's doing, and give your part and be a chayal when we need you. I hope it's an answer.
Okay. Also, for Rimon, the other panelists had the opportunity to share like something meaningful that they've been involved in as communal activists in their communities. Could the Rav share something meaningful from your time as a communal rabbi to share with the guys?
Actually, there are a lot of things, and there are things of simcha, things of tragedy. I'll just give quick examples. Yaakov Don was murdered. I was in Chutz La'aretz. In 5 towns, 5 towns. Lawrence. And although it's against the law to speak on Aliyah, I couldn't help myself. And Suda Shlishit was packed in shul, and I spoke on Eretz Israel and Aliyah. It was the same Shabbat. It was Yom Shishi, so I couldn't come back. It was too close. So this is something that happens. The community rabbi needs to say, okay, you are the leader now. What do? You are not here. And this is something that, okay, I'm not here, but I can't wait. Now I'm sending a mail to everyone. What will be written in the mail? How do you write an email now in this moment? To speak to the widow, to think about things that will feel the pain, but will give the power to the community to continue. I mean, this is just an example for something that, as a rabbi, it's, wow, you sit and you say, Nine Yavo Ezri. What do I do? Other things that are connected to things like this are things that, maybe we can speak afterwards, just if there is a big ויכוח on מחיצה ובעזרת נשים. יהיה וילון או לא יהיה וילון? Will be a curtain or won't be a curtain? It's not the same floor, it's up. But it's a מחלוקת. ספר תורה עם שמחת תורה. for נשים, יהיה? לא יהיה. אין בלגן. So those are points that you have to see what do you do. And from the other hand, if I look on things that, now there are a lot of things that of small things to help, a family, or to get divorced or not to get divorced. Sometimes it takes hours. I'll give you one example in this. And there are things that, to take summertime, the children, and to make something that the children will be with you for 2 weeks and we learn all morning. In summertime, I don't know if you know, in Israel, there are no camps. 2 months, חופש. 2 months, children, parents, everyone at home. There are people that call it החופש הגדול. It's חופש הגדול, is the name, yes? החופש הגדול והנורא. I like it because I like the children with me, but it's so 2 weeks. To see, wow, 400 kids learn from the morning. It's something that, and I just share, and I'll finish with this. A year ago, a woman came to me, and she said she has problems with money. They don't know what to eat tomorrow. The normal family, no one knows about it. And her husband didn't work, and in the bottom line, she said, I want to get divorced. That's what she said. It's don't know what to do, and it's not what it was. Now, because they have no money, so also they have no money to go to counseling, marriage counseling, with Zugi. I know the husband, I know her, and I know the amazing people. I know that the children are wow. And if all the children are wow, it says that it works, something is working here. I told her, על כסף לא מתגרשים. Understood? You know what is כסף? Money? Don't get lost. Don't look, I'll give you money for marriage counseling. 2 weeks ago she came. It's a year. She said, Arav, I have the best husband in the world. There were a few things in this year that brought it to be in this point. Not always it's like this. Maybe usually it's not like this. But sometimes it is like this. So also small things give you wow. You know, I know that if I wouldn't be here, maybe this family would be broken today.
Yes, before what an ideal rabbi is.
Right. Okay, this one I did want to open up if there's questions. I think that some meeting want to ask. You wanted to open up.
Alon Shvut.
You did, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say if one would want to be a community leader, where should one ideally like try and start? In terms of, you know, like, do you want to like try and, I don't know, like if I were to start trying to like, you know, make an impact in my community, like should I do like the small things, or like should I like try and like jump the gun, like go up to the, you know, the rabbi of the kila and say like, give you a jar, you know what I'm saying? Like where would one like ideally try and like start?
I think you should start with what you enjoy doing, right? If there's something that you enjoy, if you like working with kids, if you like, you know, whether it's being active or if you like, you know, the learning programs, I would definitely find something that you enjoy, whatever it is, and figure out a way to kind of get that involved, or, you know, improve on something that's there, or have start some sort of program. Obviously, you know, talk to the people that are involved and make sure that, you know, you get their buy-in, but I would definitely try and find whatever you feel most comfortable with and you enjoy doing, and figure out a way to give that koach and that power, right, to building something.
I agree. I think, you know, you have to think of what you can do and where you can contribute and see what's needed, and then do that. You don't overnight become, you know, a leader. You're not going to run for president of the shul. But the idea is to say, you know, what can I do? What can I give in my community, in my school? You know, if you're in university, wherever you are in the hill, what can I do to help improve everybody else's life here? You know, to make it more religious, to make it more meaningful. You know, I think Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest manhig, right? Look at a leader; he's the greatest leader we ever had, right? Look, Kam Yisrael Kam Moshe. And you know, why was he selected? He wasn't, you know, campaigning and running. He didn't even want the job. He tried to turn it down. And Akash Baruch selected him. And Nechama Leibowitz actually says that, you know, first he sees a Mitzri hitting a Jew, right? A non-Jew hitting a Jew, and he defends him. Then he sees a Jew hitting a Jew, and he defends him. And then he goes off and he sees two non-Jews fighting, right? They're not Yitro with the non-Jew shepherd, and he gets involved. And someone that's a leader, someone who cares about every single individual in the community, like Rimon mentioned. He cares about every single member of the community. You know, but at the same time, he's also an Abni Kol Adam. I think this is important to know when you get involved in community work as well. Is, you know, Moshe Rabbeinu, when I was your age and I heard this guy's an Anav, right? What does that mean? I picture the guy in the back of the shul that's like, you know, this guy, you know, quiet guy. He's very modest. He's a modest guy. Moshe Rabbeinu met Paro, spoke to Baruch Hu, led the people. He wasn't a quiet guy, but he was an Anav. So how does that go together? He wasn't a quiet, modest guy. Because being modest doesn't mean that you're a nebuch. It means you're active. You're a manhig. You lead. You do what you can in the community, but you don't do it for your own benefit. You don't do it for your ego. You're not looking to get honor at the shul dinner, but you do it because, you know, this is the right thing to do. And I think that's what's important. And more, when you say we want to get involved, you have to be careful. You don't say, you know what, this is my thing. Okay, I decorate the shul on Shavuos. That's it. You know, that's what I do every year. One thing, you come to me, that's what I do. You know, or I build the sukkah, you know, for the shul, or I give a shir on Shavuos night, or I'm the chazan for Kol Nidre. You don't have to be that, you know, the one shop, you know, the one pony guy. Okay, it's you constantly have to keep doing things like you mentioned earlier. I heard from a Razner a little different. Life is like a downward escalator, right? And if you're not going up, it's taking you down. You can't just be complacent.
Much more modern version to the right.
You can't be complacent. You can't just say, okay, I did my thing. You know, I gave my machzit a shekel, you know, and that's it. Thank you. Look at this community involvement, right? So you can't just say, okay, I did my thing, check the box. But always doing something else, always doing something more. I once asked Rosh Hashanah, I was I work, all day. I try to, I listen to Shirim on my way to work, on my way home from work. I get Shirim at night, learn my kid, full schedule. And someone asked me to give another Shir during the week. And so I was with Rav Weiss, and I said, Rav Weiss, what should I do? I feel like, I don't have time to learn what I want to learn. I'm busy helping other people and learning with other people and giving Shir. Like, I feel like I'm compromising my own time. What should I do? Should I take it on or not? And Rav Weiss said to me something I thought was brilliant. He said, whenever I need something done, I give it to the busiest guy in the room because I know he'll get it done. But people who are lazy, whoever's busy, because they do things. He said, he calls me shy. Right? So that's like my Hebrew. He goes, shy. He goes, listen. He goes, I know you're busy, and I'm not 100%, but you know what? If you took 5 minutes a day to learn exactly what you wanted to, I bet you that 5 minutes will turn into 10, 15, 20. Before you know it, you're learning another hour a day. And he goes, I know you're not wasting time. You're not watching TV. You're not doing this yet. He goes, but he goes, don't take the shear, do it, and you'll be able to do what you can do. And he was right. Sometimes you find more than 24 hours in a day. So when it says getting involved, it's really thinking what you can do, what you want to do. I'll just give you one example. Sorry, I'm talking so much, but last week I was at a Yeshiva house in Beit Shemesh. Beit Shemesh, how many families are there now? I don't know, 1,000, 1,500. There are 5 shuls. There was no minyan in the morning. So I'm not blaming anybody. Why? Because people take the train. They have to do a carpool. They go to different minyanim. There are minyanim in the neighborhood at 6, 6:15, 7, 7:15, 7:30, 8, 8:15. It was embarrassing. Waiting 10 minutes, I had to make phone calls to get a minyan. I came home. I said, "Why? How could this happen?" I was like, "This can't happen," because everybody thinks, "Oh, somebody else goes, maybe." And so right away I had it to my wife said to me, "So what are you gonna do about it?" I said, "I'll make sure I go to minyan every time." She goes, "No, that's not what you can do about it." She goes, the women have this program that when someone Nebuch is sitting shiva, they have a Google list, and you sign up to provide meals. She goes, "Why don't you do that with the men? Have a Google list where you sign up you go to the minyan." She goes, "What do they do for mincha? Mincha is early. People are still at work. Maybe arrange with his local school." So it's like things like that where you experience something, instead of getting upset and getting angry and saying, "I can't believe this happens," you say, "Okay." Like Rev. Sage once said, you don't ask why something happens. You say, what am I going to do about it? And that's what we have to ask each other. So when you say, what should I do? Say, let me see what's missing. What can I do to improve? And what can I add the most value? And do it. And you have to do it alone. Get other people to do it with you. The most successful programs are where you start it and then you can able to pass it on and move to the next project because they know it's successful because then it continues. So that's what you have to keep doing.
Okay.
Any other questions?
A 2-part question. Firstly, linked to Marc's point, in terms of one's involvement in the community, how does one balance that with spending time with family? And secondly, got the second part of the question. I remember it's very much linked. How about part A? I'll get that to part B.
Want to answer?
You ask about the time for your family and community. I just say, adding the first question, I think that anava is important because when you are starting to be a rabbi, the first thing is take a year to see what's going on. Don't start with changing things because maybe there are good things that you don't know about them. Also, you feel that something maybe not good. Wait a year, 2 years, see what's going on. This is anava. The second thing is, after you know the community, think the highest level. Where would you like the children to be, the parents to be, the community, the Limud Torah, everything, the highest level. And after you fought on the highest level, start from the beginning. Okay, small thing here. Have a big plan, but start small. And I think that sometimes, if you haven't got a big plan, you'll remain small. Another thing here, when you have a plan, not always succeed, and you can't jump. You have to go le'at. But you know the way. le'an ata olech. And I think that it can help you to bring the community to a much higher position. Family, community. Someone came to me and said, "Maybe I want to ask you. You are Rosh Yeshiva Machon Lev. You have your community lunch route. You write books. You have the Halacha Education Center, the Tzulamot. the things in Israel, חוץ לארץ, movies, רצים למשנה, I don't know if you know, there are a lot of things. You have the chesed things of the job katif and Ethiopian and so on. So how do you manage them? How are you with, how do you learn? I don't know, if you want to do a lot of things, you should decide what are the main things in your life. And after you know that those are the main things, do them the best, and the rest of the time you can do whatever you want to do. If you don't know to focus on your main things, in the end, you all the time find yourself doing million dvarim, doing this, and nothing really seriously. For my thing in life, most important things are limud Torah and mishpacha. Those are the most important things. And because of this, I know I close most of my time to learn. Or learning or giving shurim, okay, limud Torah. I know that it took me time to learn, but I know that also family. If you want to learn with your children, with your wife, okay, like you have a meeting, it's closed. ייהרג ואל יעבור. This is closed, אין מה לעשות, זה סגור. Someone wants now something, so you can say, okay, it's free because it's with my wife, but no, it's not free. You know to close the things, what you want to do with your wife, children. You close it, you write it here, and also, like a meeting. And when you know to focus on the main things of your life, so Baruch Hashem, most of my time I learn Torah, I write in Torah, I teach Torah, and Baruch Hashem, I have a team that does all the other things. That's not that I'm doing all the things. I need to be Yosef Baal HaChalomot, but they can do it. I need to dream, but they know how to do it. But very easily, I could find myself going around all day, and oh yes, I learned Torah 30 years ago. I did Rabbanut, but it won't be the same. And for me, now everyone can decide that his goal is different. For me, Torah is goal, family is goal. After you focus in them, I think you can do a lot of things. A lot also if you in your 20% or 30% as well, it depends how much, what is your in your community. And if something won't be today, it will be another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you have a seven.
I think on a different, I guess, a different perspective. I think a lot of what I do in terms of getting involved is my wife is involved as well. So by that is it's a partnership, right? So she has lots of things that she's involved with. I have lots of things that I'm involved with. Before I pick something else new, we discuss it, right? And definitely with Rav Rimon said, I have the Zman Kadosh for me is Friday morning. That's it's my time with my wife. It's our coffee time. Friday morning, it's Kadosh. Everybody knows my shul. The Vad doesn't matter. Nothing happens Friday morning. That's it took a long time to realize that, but thank God, it works. But when I wanted to, for example, there's where I work, the company I work with is very involved with youth at risk in Tel Aviv. And so I would volunteer, and started volunteering in the afternoon during my work time, and I would volunteer to teach English. I mean, there was a kid, one of the kids there, they were looking for a mentor for him. And it was probably the only religious kid who comes in, he puts tefillin on every day. He's the only religious kid in probably the whole program in Tel Aviv, where they have like 3 different houses, all spread throughout. He's probably the only religious kid. I said, listen, I didn't necessarily have the time to in mental capacity and create the time. I felt like if I didn't offer my services to help this kid, right, he would lose out because there's nobody. They weren't going to give him a mentor who was Shomer Shabbat and understood that somebody comes to you and says, this kid who comes in, he's religious or he's holding on, and he lives in Tel Aviv, and probably most of his surroundings are not we'll call it, we're not focused on Torah and mitzvot, right? But he says he wants to put on tefillin. So if they give him another mentor from the company, they wouldn't understand. The other mentor wouldn't understand what's important to him. So I spoke to my wife and I talked to my kids because it means me coming home later from work. And I said, listen, it's important. And so it's a group decision, right? And so she has a big part in the stuff that I do, and I like to try and think that I have, I try and support the community. She does a lot. She's very involved as well. I find stuff that I think it's a partnership. It's that symbiotic relationship of understanding kind of where and making sure that you do. And she helps me sometimes, like, listen, you're doing too much. You need to kind of take a step back and time for your kids. I used to like to daven with my kids the next time in shul and be able to do that. As the gabbai, you can't, right? Half the time I'm running around, I'm trying to do this, I try and find whatever I can. There are certain trade-offs you have to have, but you have to find a way, not to necessarily make it up, because they're not always interchangeable, but to find another way to make sure that they're not that lacking, and you're able to give them what they need.
There's a couple I know that I might want to introduce to Rimon. A woman told me once that, the Shalom Bayit is incredibly important. My husband is fantastic at it. He wakes up in the morning. Well, I get 3 kids out to school. He says Shalom Bayit, and he goes to shul. And then he gets home in the evening, and I put 3 kids to bed, and he says I got to go to Marc for Shalom Bayit. So that it could be a problem, but the way we work it out is we try to keep the Shalom Bayit. So some of what said here is that we have actually. My wife also is very involved in the community, so she knows how important it is to me. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think when I was younger, when I had to juggle, 5 little kids, it's hard, and you can't just leave it all on one of the spouse. So, I think it was harder for me to be involved. Like I said, I did more things on Shabbos, started a youth meeting, a teen meeting, did my Comino work when I was able to. As my kids got older, got out of the house. I mean, now I have one son who's in 11th grade. The others are university, army, married. So it's a lot easier, because they're not as demanding. Again, I still make sure to create that time. Thank God for the WhatsApp groups, so that we're able to communicate every day. I make sure to speak to my kids, my parents, every day. Have dinner with my wife every night. We have date night. You go out once a week for dinner. The kids are home, for Shabbat. Friday, also try to go biking with whatever kids are around, and my wife. So you find the time, you create the time, and you also make it clear to everyone in the family, this is my priority. You guys are number one. Realize I have a lot of other things I'm taking on myself, and they realize how important it is, and they've also been part and helped. It becomes a family project. A lot of them get involved in whatever chesed projects we're doing, and they respect it, and they've started their own. So after a while, it becomes to say, this is who we are, and this is what we do. And they're willing to sort of make compromises and so-called sacrifices. But I mean, thank God, I don't feel like I've given up anything. I think taking on all these, whatever I do, it just sort of help even build the family dynamic. So
I want to just add one thing. I think you guys obviously at a different point in your life, than we are right now. But we were all in your place at some point when we were younger, 18, and not married. I think just like God willing, when you guys are all looking for to the next stage in your life, and God willing, all make aliyah, and you want to make sure that the girl that you find wants to make aliyah. So obviously, also one of the things that's going to be important that you express is finding somebody that's also important to them, community involvement. You can do it, and there's many different ways to try and understand how to identify that. But I think if you put it out there, like for example, if you want to make aliyah, if you want to that's something that you can put out there, and you can say this and this is important to me, and make that a partnership from day one when you're looking to move on.
We have 4 minutes left until Marc. Is there just 30 seconds? Are there any parting messages that you'd like to give the guys? Any other? You didn't get to speak about any of you.
We'll let Rav Rimon, if you want to give the parting words. We spoke a lot.
Okay, I'll say one. Whatever you do, you have to daven all the time. To pray, you can be the greatest chochem. All the time to daven, to pray on your family, on your community. Second thing, if a rabbi wants that his community will be inspired and grow, he needs to grow also by himself. And keep growing and continue. And the last thing that I'll say here, in community, even in Alon Shvut, not everyone is the same. This one wants this one wants this. When I give a speech, there are around 70 rabbis there. It also gives something that 70 rabbis not always they think the same. And the Gemara in Menachot of Lamed Gimel speaks about mezuzah, that it mustn't be like negel. It's machlokes rishonim. Rashi and thinks that it mustn't be like this, it should be standing. Rabbeinu Tam says, no, it mustn't be standing, it should be lying. And Maharid and Rama says, okay, do it b'alachsot. Do Maharid and Rama, if Rambam comes, he would be upset. He said, If Rabbeinu Tam will come, we'll be also upset. But we know that Alachson, okay, it's not the best this, but when you want that everyone will be in the same house, you need to put in front of mezuzah in Alachson. You know what is Alachson? In בית אשכנזי לפחות, ספרדיס, they do ישר. בית אשכנזי, you put באלכסון, also Sfardis like this, they have other things, יש, but it's something, okay, community, family, not always everything be exactly like we want, and not everything would be like the rabbi wants. You want to be together, look at the mezuzah.
Well, thank you to our panelists. I think just coming to participate today was the communal activism on everybody's parts, and we learned a lot. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck.
שכוייך. דברים יפים, הוספתם פה ממש דברים יפים.